Hey everyone, welcome back to the Echelon podcast where you either get it or maybe you don't. I'm your host, Adam Zimmerman, coming to you from the great state of Colorado this time, back in Colorado, here in a snowstorm. I am here right now with my co-host, James McCabe. James, welcome back.
Thank you, Adam. And also, Adam and I went for a mountain bike ride yesterday as a celebration of getting him back and actually doing some real elevation when he goes on his rides, as opposed to what he was doing before back in Michigan, where he didn't get a lot of elevation. Adam, I think you might have to tell everyone where you're calling from. It looks like an army bunker, maybe. I see
Mhm.
American flag. I see the army piece. And I know you were in the army for a period of time there too. I also see a Keurig. For your coffee taste, I'm a little surprised you have a Keurig. But
Uh, so that all right. Well, to answer all of your questions, first, yes, I'm in what looks like a military bunker, but that's actually my basement. Because it's the only place that I can get some quiet. But yeah, so I am not in the military bunker, and yes, that is a Keurig, but I haven't used it in a long time. So I do brew my own coffee, but I've had that for years, and it just kind of sits there. So,
yeah,
um, but it'll have to be in the background today.
that's fine. Yeah, we'll update the background game. I'm at my parents' house, also in Colorado, so slightly nicer background than what you're all used to seeing. Is that your Swift setup in the background? I see a big TV on the stand. Is that what you're
Yeah,
doing
it
with your
is.
routing
So
now?
right behind me, I'm not gonna move the camera because then I got to get it all set up again. But right behind me is my Zwift setup, and I got my green screen and then my TV there. So that's where all the magic happens, baby.
Yeah. Let's see what else is exciting. Next week is Halloween, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a
Mm-hmm.
snowstorm this week, but for those of you that obviously know Colorado, the snow's here one day, it's gone the next day, pretty much. What are you dressing up Maddie as for Halloween, your son?
Yeah. I don't know. We didn't get in
Oh,
costume.
come on. You have to get him
Well, so we
something.
were gonna we were gonna get him a an avocado. Look, he wanted to look like an avocado, but then we couldn't find it, and he's just not at the trick or treating level yet. So we're not really doing much for Halloween. So
He's about one, right?
he's actually 13 months. So yeah, a year and a month.
Yeah. I got a birthday next month coming up soon. We'll do something
Congrats,
special
man.
there.
Nice.
Yeah. 30 years old. Get to race
Wow.
I get to be a masters racer soon at this rate.
Yeah, in 15 years, bro. You got a long time to go. Like
Well,
I'm 37, so
maybe we'll see that in Swift racing. Maybe we'll do some age brackets for those people
that'd be
that
kind of
that
cool.
want that. Would be a good
That would.
enhancement to see. Certainly a lot of enhancements that Swift has been doing. We have a couple topics we definitely want to hit on today. Wrap up some news, talk about the Premier League and results from the second race and where every team stands. The World Championships for esports. I know USA Cycling announced their men's roster. We'll talk, and the women's roster. We'll talk about those team members here in a little bit, and then wrap it up with whatever we go on a tangent about.
Let's do it, baby.
Um, so, at least news roundup. One thing I'm really excited about, Adam, I know you do not do a lot of just casual riding around on Swift, but the Pacer bots are there. I don't know if you've jumped in any rides and you saw any Pacer bots lately.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. So I think it was yesterday I did one. I actually did a Pacer bot ride, and I
Which
thought it
one?
was awesome.
Do you
I
remember which one?
I started with the first one. Oh, what was the name? The
The ant-
1.5.
oh, the
What?
easy one, the D
So
rider, if
I
you
started
will.
with the D rider, and then that was like I was a little too slow, and then I jumped up to the C rider, and that was like good. It was a good steady pace. Everybody was just
Yeah,
like in the group in the blob, and it was a nice way to like get a good ride in, get some miles in, but like not have to think about my pace all the time. Just kind
right.
of follow the group. So I actually thought it was really beneficial, and I'll definitely be doing it again. So
Yeah, and like for me too, it's just a nice way to get on the platform. And if you just want to do an easy hour or a hard hour, you can ride with any of those pacer bots out there. The I forget the name of the A Rider pacer bot, the guy that averages between maybe 3 to 4 or 4 to 5. He's
mm.
kicking butt. And like none of us in the little group could keep up with him for a period of time.
Oh
But
wow, wow.
it's certainly nice to have those pacer bots in there. So thank you, Swift. I think that's a much welcomed enhancement compared to perhaps the battery boost mode that was being flirted with for a period of time. Um, so I know, Adam, you've been away from Swift for a while in term because when you were out visiting your family, you didn't have access to a trainer there. But what's some of the community races you've been targeting? We know you personally have not been partaking in the Premier League, which is fine. Your team is doing an outstanding job. We'll talk more about that, as is my team. But what is some of the community races you've been targeting lately, or what are some of the big ones you're getting excited about?
Yeah, I definitely have been enjoying just racing the community races. I won't be doing any of the pro races coming up. I just don't have the time or the schedule where I can commit to it.
Hmm.
So it's not fair to my team to like say, hey, yeah, I can do it, and then be like, oh, I can't, I cancel all the time.
Right.
So I'm not going to be doing the pro races. I wouldn't say I target specific races like a long ways out, but
Yep.
I do try to go after certain races. Like today, I did the Kiss 100K, which is a super super hard one. I try to do that at least once a month,
It's a
but I'm very
classic.
picky. Yeah, but I'm very picky about like what course I do it on. Like I won't just do it on any course. I have to do it on a course that I find fun and enjoyable because when you're riding on the trainer for like today was 2 hours and 40 minutes. That's a really long time. So you want to enjoy the
Hmm.
course more than actually sometimes the race itself. So I wouldn't say I'm targeting specific races, but it really just like the only one that I really truly like to do all the time is the Austin Driveway Series on Wednesday nights. That one is a
Yeah.
lot of fun. But really, I just try to fit in my racing around my family schedule.
And that is the beauty of Swift is that there are so many races you can choose from at almost any point in the day. You can jump in and the competition's usually pretty there. And with the winter season popping up here in the Northern Hemisphere, well, it's snowing here in Colorado, so maybe it came a little bit sooner. You're definitely going to see those races get a lot more popular. And then I also been seeing too, Project Echelon, they've been doing a lot more stuff on Road Grand Tours. I know we spent the last podcast talking about Road Grand Tours, perhaps was not either of our favorite platforms right now, but there seems to be some slow, gradual movement over to that platform.
Hmm.
Might have to give it another shot personally. Certainly something I was not too pleased about, but if there are more events on there and more people are starting to get on there, as that was the biggest gripe about the platform, in my opinion, is that there's just not enough people on there. It's all pacer bots all the time. I think that'll be a nice change.
I mean, I think you just have to take it for what it's worth. It's not, polished up like Swift right now. But
Yeah,
if you want to go and enjoy different roads and check out, a different game in a sense, then it makes sense to go and do it. I don't think there's anything wrong
right.
with just going and trying it out. I personally wouldn't take it as serious right now as I would my Swift racing. But you could still have fun on a different platform as long as you go into it with the understanding that it's not going to have the same kind of polished up drafting coefficients and things like that as Swift does.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it'll get there, right? And if we get more users on there, then perhaps Swift can have a true competing product. Right now, there isn't really one in the space. Um, But yeah, that's good for community races. I hopped in a 65-kilometer race this morning. Didn't do so hot. That's all right. It's the mountain bike ride yesterday you and I did kind of wore me out a little bit. 2,700 feet of climbing in 8 miles at
That's a lot.
elevation.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a tough climb, man.
it's good. You should go check out Adam Strava if you want to see that climb really kick butt. Let's talk about the Premier League because I'm sure everyone's tired about hearing us talk about bike rides.
Screw that,
Um,
man. This is our podcast. We'll talk about whatever we want, dude. See, we don't get paid by like Zwift. We don't get paid
no,
by anybody. So we can spend the next 45 minutes if we want, like bull BSing, all right, about our riding. And if the people want to listen, they can listen, man. Like that's the way I see it. No bias, no bias here. Like
this is
anyway,
very low
yes.
budget, right? Which is why I'm using my
Oh,
my work
oh, look,
laptop.
wait. I do have a sponsor I want to mention though. So
Oh,
it's called Latico, like performance and recovery gel. See that?
oh,
So this
yeah,
is
it's
like one of
green.
our new sponsors. I haven't tried it yet, but stay tuned, everybody. Stay tuned. I'm gonna lather this stuff up and do a ride and see if it's actually good or not. But big shout out to them for sending me some product. So I will keep you all posted. Yeah.
Is
So
it
there's the sponsor thing.
is it warming or is it just like a sodium bicarbonate?
It doesn't say anything about warming. It just says pain relief, shake well before use for temporary relief of minor aches and pains. So it probably just feels good on your legs, like while you're riding and racing. So
Mhm. Yeah.
yeah,
Also,
but
I want to make a comment, Adam. You wore a different shirt compared to the last couple
Yes,
podcasts we did.
dude.
So thank you.
I'm all spiffed up. I won't pop my collar. I'm not a collar popper. All right. But I am wearing a nice collared shirt for you all in my military bunker, and I am drinking a Dunkin' Donuts coffee right now. I actually brewed Dunkin' Donuts too, and I have the mug. So there we go.
And you're from New York, as I'm from New Jersey.
How you
Let's
doing?
talk.
How you doing?
Let's talk about the Premier League. So, race number 2 out of 8 just wrapped up last week. We were actually recording this podcast or the last podcast as it was kicking off, and it was a time trial around France's RGV course, team time trial, 24.1 kilometers. This will be the shortest and flattest team time trial of the season. To give you guys another idea of the other time trials out there, November 2nd, you have the Watobia's Magnificent 8 team time trial. That is almost 30 kilometers. It's pretty hilly for a team time trial. Then you have London's Greatest or London Flat. I always think that name is always interesting. London's Greatest London Flat. That's 32. Pretty straightforward, but there's some slight hills that'll get you as you go like under the tunnel and get kicked out. And then November 30th, you have Watopia's Wastebands team time trial. I got some gravel on there, which I don't love how gravel rides on Swift personally, but you have to certainly kick out a lot of power. And then December 15th, Watopia's TikTok. That's actually probably the fastest one, albeit that is nearly 40 kilometers. So that is a much longer one. So looking at the results from that week, if you
So
haven't
wait,
checked
hold
out
on. Let's
already,
back up a second. So
okay.
yeah. So it was a team time trial, right?
Yep.
Do you know what the gaps were for each team, like when they went off? Did they pass each other a lot, or
There was a couple passing and there were predefined gaps. Yeah.
okay? How does that work? Like, so can a team jump on another team, or do you get these queued for that, or how does that work?
You do get disqualified if you do ride within another team's draft for too long. But there was pretty much everyone sat in the starting pen. And then when a certain time hit on the clock, then your team goes. And all those were coordinated with World Tactical Racing Leagues, and you had all those start times calculated. It was tough to kind of figure out split times for those in the team car. You kind of had to have multiple monitors. You had Swift Power up on one screen, and you had the broadcast up on another. And then the team car feature for managers have been great. So it used to be, for those of you who don't know, for you to go into a race and give your riders real-time updates, you can't rely on a broadcasted feed or someone's Twitch feed because it's usually 10, 15 seconds delayed from the actual race. So by the time you want to react to something and you're watching that feed, the riders have already experienced what happened. So every racer who participates in the Premier League, they automatically get put into the A category for that race. The B category for the race is reserved for team managers and their team car, which means you can join the race as a B rider, but you're not actually participating. And then you click go follow so and so. I want to follow Adam, and then I can follow Adam along, and then we use a number of different protocols to communicate with that rider. That is something I do want to bring up, is the fact that the amount of technology we're cramming into someone's room right now to make these
Mm,
races possible, right? So it's not only as a team, we ask our riders on draft, jump on the Discord channel, handful of people on the Discord channel, you're talking the whole time to these riders. That's going through your cell phone, right? You then have a laptop in front of you that likely has your Swift, game happening. You have your smart trainer that's using Bluetooth. You have
mm-hmm,
your heart rate monitor also using Bluetooth.
mm-hmm.
You have a dual recording device that's probably using Bluetooth or ANT plus to a computer, a head unit that's independent of all those other things. And now Swift wants for every racer to have a rider webcam set up, pre-approved. So you probably have an
Wow.
iPad with a Zoom call going on that has a video feed from every other racer in the race. And we all know video calling. We've all been doing that for pretty much since March every day for a lot of folks. That takes a lot of bandwidth.
Dude,
So
that's insane. That's
you
an
think
insane.
about yeah. Go ahead.
No, no, no. That's insane. I mean, just listing off everything like that, but you also didn't include everything that's going else on in that person's house, who probably
That's
has a
right.
family or a few other people, and they're taking up bandwidth, watching TV, doing whatever they're doing, right? So That's just nutty. That's just nutty.
Yep. And then you might also have the Swift companion app, mobile app, right? So you have that up on maybe a second device. And there's just a lot going on in these rooms. Dropouts, as you would know, Adam, when you did some of the live events, the live one in New York, you had a pretty gnarly dropout at some point pretty early on. And there's very little you can do when your trainer just won't reconnect or you're out of it for 10, 20, 30 seconds because there's multiple interference going on all the time. And
Oh, it was
finally,
embarrassing. Yeah.
the fifth generation Wahoo kicker, I think actually has a hardwired option. So you can guarantee there's a lot of people that are very excited about that
Yeah.
option.
Yeah. Well, no, really, yeah. Speaking of that live event, dude, that was embarrassing, and I got a dropout in the first 2K of the race. So everybody's going absolutely insane. I get a dropout. I'm looking around. I have to, I'm not going to go and throw my hands up in the air and start screaming. So I'm just trying to play it like I can as best as I can, right? I'm just like still racing. I try to catch a few people. But yeah, I mean, for me to get a dropout in the first, I traveled all the way to New York City for this event, and to get a dropout in the first 2K is definitely unfortunate. But that's just the way it goes, right? So
Yeah, that was a while ago, 2 years ago, maybe.
yeah, and the thing is too is that they didn't even have like a feature where to get you back in. Like for example, at the eCrit Live final, you were allowed an opportunity before the last 5 laps. If you got a dropout, you hit this little button on your they would put it on your stem, and it gave you like a quick boost back into the group if you got a dropout, and it worked
Oh,
really well. Yeah, I don't think they told anybody about that, but it pretty much like went straight up to 20 watts per kilo. So you'd hit this button and it would give you like a power boost to 20 watts per kilo, and it would bring you right back into the group if you got a dropout. Um, Zwift has not done anything to really fix this issue with people getting dropouts in races. I wish it was left up to, like, let's say, the director of a race to say,
yeah.
hey, okay, no free if you get a dropout, you can get back in somehow. Maybe there's a way in the game you can get back in until, like,
Mhm.
let's say, a lap to go, or 5K to go, or whatever the distance is, or whatever how many laps it is. But yeah, they really haven't taken that to account. It's pretty much like, oh, you get a dropout, you're just screwed. Your race is over.
Yep. And with all those devices going on, with a lot more people home all the time, you're going to see a lot more dropouts. Yeah, that's a shame, but it's a good thing to think about, right? Because like dropouts are pretty obvious in the game. Everything just goes to nothing, right? It's not like, usually just your trainer. Pretty much the whole thing goes to nothing.
Everyone, I am stoked today because we have a new co-host on our show, which means I don't have to listen to James's non-New Jersey accent all the time.
Mm,
So Tina Grobler, I would like to welcome you to our show. This is pretty cool. Tina has a really cool background in de-icing for many different teams. She's a cyclist. I'm not going to talk too much more, but I just wanted to say welcome to the show, and happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. Very excited. First time doing podcast stuff. So this is really exciting. And also speaking across the world to America from England. So
Mhm.
it's, and I'm coming from South Africa originally. So this feels really like, whoa, totally out of the world because our internet's not great in South Africa. So when we moved here, it's just like, damn, things work. It's pretty cool.
Totally. Yeah, no, it's great to have you, and super stoked to get your kind of insight onto the women's side of everything, women's racing, the
Amazing.
Premier League, and we're going to talk all about that. James, I'm going to shoot it back to you though. Let's go through the women's results since we already did the men's results for the Premier League.
yeah, so the results for the women's Premier League race number two, again, it was team time trial. Heino again, 33 minutes, 23 seconds, coming across with 20 points. Team 2020, 40 seconds back. No pins, R3R, 57's back. I race like a girl, 1 minute back. And then Evoke coming in there at 1 minute, 17 seconds back. So not as tightly packed as the men's race, where pretty much the top 10 riders were consistently within a minute of one another, but still pretty well spaced together in there. Wrapping up the overall for the Premier League right now, and then Tino, I'll turn over you to talk about race number
Fantastic.
three and your perspective on there. Hino Racing, 2 wins back to back. They're sitting at the top with 40 points right now. 2020, 35 points, also tied with no pins three R3R, excuse me, at 35 points. Arrow at 31 points. I Race Like a Girl at 30. Team Swedish Swifters in sixth place with 29. And then Evoke, Tina and Adam, your team sitting there at 28 points in ninth place right now. There's a pretty big three-way tie for sixth
Yeah,
place. So pretty busy. So
it's
Tina, what is
quite
your team
feisty.
focused on? Yeah, what is your team focused on for race number 3 coming up, which just so everyone knows what race number 3 is, we're going back to 2015, also back to America here at the UCI Worlds Course, which is actually pretty hard. 2 laps, 32 kilometers. It's a
And
hilly
a
one.
lot of climbing. Oh my goodness. But I have to say, from the Team Evoke side, they are beasts on climbing. This is just, that's their speciality. They're so light and they've got such crazy power. So I've ridden a few with the TTs with them, and you just know that you're going to be. I'm a tall person, clearly not the weight they are because they're all quite a bit shorter. So you just hang on for dear life and go, good God, I'm not sure how these people actually. How do you do that? But then you've got Heino, who are, I mean, they prove it again and again. They were just absolutely insane in the races. They've really fine-tuned how they do racing and how they work together as a team and who attacks who, and you get those where they do like the false attacks, and if you follow through and you're
Mhm.
basically just burning your matches, and then they know that, and then they just smash. It's crazy. I do a lot of men's races as well on Zwift personally, and then when you race the women, it's far more, so many more tactics in there, and you have to really be on it.
Hmm.
So I think the girls just, in terms of when you finish a race, you're mentally saturated as well as physically. It's a proper game.
I wanted to ask you, Tina, you've DS'd for obviously a lot of different teams out there. Can you, not speaking about one, team name in particular, but is there like the way they mesh differently, on Discord and the way that they're kind of listening to you? And do you have a certain set plans with this? Okay, this team, I know how to talk to them a certain way, and this team, I talk to them a little bit differently.
Yes, it comes down to teams as well as teammates. So if you have to know, like some people like to have the more aggressive, like you can do this pushing, whereas other ones just need somebody calm. And it's really key to know who you're speaking to and their style. Because if you get that wrong, you can really put a race off. So team wise, you have like the team dynamics can also play a role in that because you can see who you can match with somebody else to push them internally, and you say, well, just follow that wheel for a little bit, then carry on. And if they're not really well matched, you just got to have your eyes all over the race. I think there's a danger in always focusing on the top players and not focusing on the girls in the back of the team. And sometimes the ones in the back of the team can come back just with the right support. And I think it kind of meshes the team up a bit, like makes them a little stronger if everybody in the playing that's in the game, it feels like they've got somebody they're watching their back, and like once the first people across the line, immediately switch back to the people who are further down the line. I think that's
Interesting.
we find is really key.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'll jump in sometimes to the women's Discord and I'll just listen in on what's going on, and I'm like, man, they've got their stuff together so much more than the men do. And that's not, I'm not saying anything against the men. It's just the way that they talk to each other, and then my heart was beating so fast at the end of one of these races because they were all cheering. I think it was like Monolly who was up there in the top five at the end, and
It was
everybody starts
insane.
getting on the mic. Yeah, everyone starts
Yeah,
getting on the mic. Monolly, go, go. And I'm like, yeah, go. And
yeah.
everyone was getting into it. James, do you have
Yeah.
that like same thing on, do you guys use Discord as well on your
We
teams?
do, yeah, and we have similar type of. We don't jump on there as much like during races, but like it's mostly the folks that are racing were on there, right? And it helps us with having like one DS on there and then all the riders. Sometimes
Yeah.
it can be a little distracting when like other riders jump on like, come on, go, go, go. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
the group chat certainly does that quite a bit, that's for
Yeah.
sure. I can tell it's racing season when my phone is just blowing up the whole time. Yeah, camaraderie is big for the teams, right? If you don't
Yeah.
love these people that you're spending virtual time with all the time, you can be a little lonely and certainly isn't much fun.
No, and it's
But
hurt like a
sound
time as well, isn't it? It's like when you really are hurting, I think the true natures of people can come out, and then that's when you really get to know your teammates, is when you are all hurting together. Because like if you're going to be nice people to each other during the race, you know you're going to be generally nice to each other after the race.
Yeah, and trusting your DS is a big thing, right? If you're not listening to your
Yeah,
DS as a rider, or if you have riders that go rogue, especially in something like a team time trial, that's big, right?
absolutely.
Road races, though, and then Tina, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the podcast about the team cars for the Premier League. Have you been taking advantage of those?
We have, yes. So that's
Yeah.
been, it's so useful. So useful
Yes.
just to be able to keep an eye on everything, and just you get a better lay of the land. I think coming from the racing side and then stepping, well, have the privilege really to have people trust you with DS. It feels it's massive because I know what it's like to have a DS, and then you do need to. I mean, that information they give you is so vital because when you're in there and you're just seeing red, you don't know you can't see all the plays. So having just that overview, I think
Hmm.
can really give you more confidence than what you can just get out of your legs. Because when it's hurting, it's hurting. But if someone goes, you know what, there's a break coming up, 10 more seconds, even if they're lying and it's actually 30 more seconds,
There
you
you
go with
go.
it and you're going, it's fine. I'll take 10 seconds.
I'll tell you though,
Yeah,
100% though that DSing works. I've pushed so much harder because Russ, our DS, knows exactly what to say at the right
Oh,
time,
Russ is
and
great.
yeah, and I've pushed definitely harder than I thought I could sometimes. So that was cool.
Yeah. He does the DS every now and then with the girls in the TTT, and it's just oh my word. I mean, he's so animated as well. I think he tames it back for us girls because you can hear he's like, "Do I say something? No, I won't say anything. Like I'm just
Where's
waiting for
that?
the
Where's that
boys to do
accent
it."
from? I think is it Irish or Scottish? That
He's
probably adds to the excitement. Yeah,
Jersey, I think, or Guernsey.
Guernsey.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah. All
UK
right.
side.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
But he's also got South African in him. I think his granddad is South African. So
Wow.
a
Oh.
nice mixed bag like me. We like them
Um, well,
mixed.
well, DS certainly is the backbone of many successful teams here. We've had a couple DSs here on the draft side as well, and it's certainly changed the way I look at races and certainly the way our teams know to trust the voice that you're hearing in your headphones. But going back to the Premier League as a whole, series have been pretty good so far. I've personally been pretty happy with how the racing has been. Swift has a World of Swift Sports Center like not podcast but video they do that just recaps, in more detail, a lot more graphics. It's definitely more of a hype and more of a marketing thing around there as well. Um, but we'll see how race number 3 goes. It should be very
Yeah.
interesting. I'm looking forward to having a traditional race, if you will, but so many intermediate sprints for this one. I think there's
Ugh.
4 in the total event.
With all that climbing, it's vicious. It really is vicious.
Yeah, the 4 intermediate sprints are Monument Ave, Broad Street, Libby Hill, and 23rd Street. And these are not really long. They're just
No,
punchy, right? So when you're
very.
already on the rivet trying to stay with the group, and then you hit those sprints. But I think most people are going to be doing bike choice. Speaking of bike choice, actually, Adam, I know you have some feedback around one of
Oh
the
man,
bikes.
I'm so bummed about this. All right, so I think I saw my teammate Tom. He had the new Canyon Arrow Road, right?
Oh,
And I was
yes.
like, I haven't bought anything in a long time. I think the last thing I bought was like I don't know, maybe the new disc wheel, and that was like over a year ago. I probably haven't bought anything. So I
Yeah.
was like, okay, this looks cool. It's got 4 star. It had 4 stars for climbing and 3 stars for what is the other one? The weight? No,
Wait.
that's a
Yep.
weight. Weight is climbing,
And then there's
and then the
aero.
aerodynamics,
Yeah.
yeah. And it had like 3 stars or something for that. So I was like, okay, cool. This is a fast bike. And then like I don't know, a couple days ago they came out. They just updated the game, and they lowered it to 3 stars. I'm like, what
No.
are you doing? Yeah,
After all
and
that money.
right,
I mean, after all those drops. Not
All those
money.
all those
drops.
drops.
So
I
many
mean,
drops.
it wasn't that. It was like 500,000, so it's not the end of the world. But still, why would you
Yeah.
offer a frame and then
Downgraded.
change it, downgrade it, right? If anything, you should upgrade it, not downgrade
Yeah.
something. So I was kind of pissed about that. I still used it today in the Kiss 100K, but it's all good.
Yeah. I think the Venge, the SWX Venge is going to be an ultimate favorite for mine for a long time. It
Mm,
just feels like a good all rounder with the 858s.
nice.
They're
I just
good.
want one that like glows like a unicorn or something. That'd be sweet.
Like
I
the
know they have the
Tron
Tron
light.
bike. No, but that doesn't
Yeah.
glow. That like just stays one color. I want mine to like shine like little like lights and like, just glow. That would be really
Disco
cool.
bike.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
If anyone here has ever seen Adam's live stream of his race, he has a little
Yeah, it's kind
DJ
of funny.
guy, and the little
Yep.
DJ guy sits at the top of the stream, and it doesn't relate to anything he's actually doing in
Amazing.
game, but
Nothing at all. But
it is pretty
it
bad.
flashes lights and you can see his hands on the turntables and everything. I think it's
Oh,
cool. So
amazing.
Yeah,
yeah, I think it's cool. So
yeah.
yeah, you can all
Let's
check out my stream on YouTube, by the way. But yeah,
Yeah.
anyway, go
which
on,
is where this
James.
podcast also is. So with I think we have about 10 minutes left in today's podcast. I do want to touch upon one more subject, which is the 2020 Esports World Championships, and that most federations are announcing their riders are selected. And you're starting to see stuff pop up on social media. Um, at least I'm looking at I don't even know what this is called. The National Federation Rider Allocation document from the UCI. And you have the different bands A, B, C, and D. The A band and the countries in there, there's 50 plus eligible athletes on Swift. B is 20 to 50. C is 10 to 20, and D is 0 to 10. Some of the ones that sit at the top, at least for the men, are Italy, Belgium, and France, and Netherlands. They're in the A group. They get 7 riders each. Australia, Spain, US, Great Britain, Germany, and Switzerland, they get 5 riders each. And then Canada, Denmark, Poland, 3. Austria, Colombia, New Zealand, South Africa, Norway, Ireland, and Japan wrap it up with 1. That's for men. Women, it's slightly different. There's a lot less countries on here. Netherlands, Italy, Australia, in France, you get 9 spots. USA in the B band with Germany, Belgium, and Great Britain, you get 6. Poland, Canada, New Zealand wrap up 3 spots each. And then South Africa and Japan wrap up with 2. So a lot less countries for the women's allocations. A lot more countries represented for the men's. I'm not entirely sure how they came to that conclusion to say this country gets so many, at least from the U.S. side here. We picked our 5 men. We picked our 6 women. And then for the UK, Tina, I think you guys already did the same thing as well.
We probably have. I'm not in the loop on that one.
Okay, that's fine. Well, let's talk about I'll go ahead and talk about the men's and women's selection for the USA one. And then looking for comments on all of these riders as well. So for the elite men, we got Brian Hodges. That's an Evoke member there.
Hmm.
Jadon Yeager, if I'm saying that name correctly, from Adapt Cycling. Ryan Larson, I think he's on SARS, the Pros Closet. Tanner Ward, First Internet Bank. And Tyler Williams from Legion of LA. For the women, we have Jacqueline Goodby. Don't see the team on here. Christina Dobell Hickok from Rally Cycling. Laura Coe, excuse me. Also another boat rider for you all.
Yeah.
Look at that. Men's and women's representing for your teams.
Yay.
Let's see. Kristen Kolchinsky on Team 2020. Lauren Stevens from Team Tipico Silicon Valley Bank. And then we also have Tracy wrapping it up with the SARS and the Pros Closet team. So pretty strong selection, I'd say, across all of these. I don't know if you
Yeah.
guys have any comments about. Up to you. Any comments on the men's or the men's and the women's USA squads?
Yeah, I mean, Laura Matson Coe is a beast. She's pretty awesome. And then I raced Christy Tracy tonight, actually, on the RGT platform. Quick, really powerful riders. I think they've got a good punchy setup there, just on the US side. I'm not entirely sure what's on the UK side because I'm with Evox, so they're mostly US based.
Yeah.
And then I've got teams like Holland and that type of things. But UK side, I'm not entirely sure who's actually in. But yeah, on the US side, it's super punchy. I mean, I would not want to be in a room with those girls racing.
What race are you doing on the RGT platform?
We just done the trial for the Echelon, so there's the
we were talking about that earlier.
coming up.
Yeah.
So it was first look at RGT, and that was it's impressive, I have to say. I think
Hmm.
I've, for my style of racing, it probably suits me better than Zwift, which was a surprise because I'm normally
Interesting.
like the lower 50% in the pro-ams. And then I managed podium today. So I was like,
Oh,
how
congratulations.
does that
Wow.
happen? But I think finally, what's count? So yeah,
What did you say? Because we talked about this in the last podcast a little bit, how Adam and I weren't the biggest fans of RGT at first, at least for the way USA Cycling said you have to qualify on this platform and then go race the worlds on the other platform.
yeah.
What's the biggest differences that you've seen that you like on there?
I think the way the avatars react does help because I'm definitely visual. Like I'm not a very analytical numbers person, so I tend to ignore the watts per kilogram on the side, which is a you
Hmm.
have to really watch that on Zwift. It's really key. But when you see an avatar, if there's a sudden acceleration, they do stand up, whether they're going into red numbers or not. The body shape changes, so it gives you more of a key to actually hear something's happening. And just I think the I'm not a light rider, so when you race on Zwift, it definitely hits you, especially your height and weight. It becomes a bit of a penalty. But I'm strong, so when you race
Hmm.
on RGT, I think they do consider watts to have a role as well, rather than just watts per kilogram. So I think it just gives you more confidence to go, you know what, I can attack for this little bit, and you don't have to attack or as hard or as long to close a gap. So
Yep.
don't know. It felt more natural. It felt more like when you hit a 7% climb, you know it's going to hurt, and it does. And if you're doing
Yep.
it at speed, I mean, you're gonna feel it. But I think that makes you feel the downhills more. It makes you really understand the drafting. The little thing on the side where it says how much you're saving in the draft
That helps.
is is really helpful. But it's stuff you don't think you need, and then you go, actually, I'm using that a lot.
Yeah, I know like on the at least in Swift, like the biggest thing is like you have that thing, it's like don't lose the guy in front of you, like little thing moving back and
Yeah, they
forth.
close the gap. Yeah,
Yeah, there's only the assumption that it's like, okay, if I'm sitting on this guy, then I must be working hard. And sometimes it doesn't always feel that way. In the same way, it's a little more obvious in RGT. But
yeah,
yeah, my biggest concern with the platform is that it's just, it, the way it was presented to at least the USA qualifying, it's like you have 9 days to go on this new platform. We know all of you like Swift. And it's
yeah.
like, so get used to it. So it was just kind of very jarring way to do it. And there
Because
wasn't a
it's
lot of,
quite different, isn't it?
it is, but it's not different in a bad way. It's just so different that I can't have a positive opinion about it quite yet, right? Because
Yeah.
it's just, I had such a quick, intense experience and it's like, it's not what I
Rip the
want to do.
band-aid off. Yeah.
That's right.
Especially for
Um,
such a big event. And you're like, oh.
That's right. Yeah, but I'm excited for to watch the race. It's definitely a step in the right direction. I think for it to see it be a UCI event, I think is great. But who knows what the UCI esports platform will be next year
Yeah.
after Swift? It could be on Road Grand Tours, could be on who knows what else will be there.
Yeah. It's interesting to
But
see all the changes because I think COVID, I mean, there's so many bad, like negative sides to that, but it's definitely
mhm,
pushed esports into, well, the forefront really, because everybody just had that for so long. And I think people are really stepping up their game just to try and get to the point where actually this is possible. It's great for if you're spectating because you can watch the whole race. You don't have to just worry about it whether you're standing in, say, for example, the Tour de France. You've got to choose your position on the road, and there's no time to navigate to follow your favorite rider further down the line. You're kind of stuck in one place all the time. Whereas the e-cycling, you can view a whole race from, it is essentially the comfort from your living room, but it just
yeah.
gives you more of a feel of what's going on. So I think to that side is great. I mean, my parents watch me racing from South
Did
Africa,
it
and
really?
they cheer, yeah. So every time there's a live stream, they're on there, and then I get the debrief after the racing, like, how did you do? You didn't draft
Oh, that's
enough,
so
and I'm like,
good.
oh no. So, but
Yeah,
it is more accessible.
I've been trying to get my folks to watch racing for a period of time. Granted, it's just my Twitch stream, like here, and they're
Yeah.
like, "I don't know, this is weird. You're in the corner, and then what's the guy on the screen doing?" But that's certainly that's certainly a big push for Swift to encourage to basically like remind the average viewer that like while the avatars are virtual, like the people behind it, they're very real, and this is a
Yeah.
very verified event, which is a big deal.
I think that's where the
Um,
live streams that you do are so key because people can see you hurting. It's
yeah,
that it's so key to see like people are actually they're not just taking a drill and sticking it on the bike and letting it spin and just change it to make it look real. It's people are actually in the hurt locker.
yeah, they're really hurting. Well,
Yeah,
I think that's going to wrap up this podcast for today. Tina,
perfect.
thank you for joining Adam and I. Adam did have to drop off for anyone else watching at home to go take care of his crying child. But good luck tomorrow to your team.
Thank you.
It should
And
be,
yours?
thank you. Should be pretty exciting. I know we'll end up on top, so I'm not too worried about that. But yeah, no, it should be good. And looking forward to talking more.
Yeah, you too. Have a lovely rest of
Okay.
your week. Cheers.
You too. Cheers.
Bye.